What it is, what it do, what it is, what it do.
You don't do much.
Listen,
What it is.
I was
What's
about to.
up?
No. I felt like I was about to start with a sigh, honestly, um, for how my evening has already transpired before getting on here with you. Beth,
I hear you. Hi,
listen.
friends. Hi,
Hi,
friends. Hi,
friends. I know
friends.
we got to get
Welcome
back into that
back.
routine of saying hi right off the bat.
I know. Hi,
So,
friends.
what's going on, everybody? How y'all doing? What it is? What's up? No,
What's up?
but no, Beth. Okay, so before we started, right? We always like text each other, like, "Oh, you're ready. We're getting ready to get on." Da 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 da. So thought I was, and then next thing you know, I hear my youngest out in the front room in sassy mode telling my oldest, like, why do we always have to watch cake videos and da 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 da. Okay, so I'm like, I can't have that in the background while we're doing this, right?
Right.
So I call her in the room and I'm like, yo, what's going on out there? To the youngest one, I call the youngest one in the room, and she she has a knack for not being able to really start talking a lot before the tears come, right? So, like, through the tears, she's telling me, I don't like watching cake videos. And every time we watch TV, she wants, and I'm like, oh, Shaggy? Do we not watch every episode of Chip and Potato, My Dad the Bounty Hunter,
Oh, my.
Mitchell when you have your turn with the TV? So I go on to explain to her about, like, hey, listen, we got to be fair and we got to share. When it's your turn, do we complain when we watch uh My Dad the Bigfoot 50,000 times, or
Oh,
Thelma
my
the
gosh. These
Unicorn?
names.
That
These
I'm
names.
telling you,
What happened
it's
to Blue's Clues and,
you
and,
know,
and
and she's graduated to, like, kid movies and TV shows and stuff. But I'm like, when we watch TV with you, do we complain? Do we say these things to you? No. I was like, so do you think that it's fair that when it's someone else's turn, you act the way you do? You know what I mean? And so
yeah.
and well, no, and she knows, and that's the thing, and that's why I try to really, like, put it you, because she said no. So you're smart enough to know that this is not how you act. So that's not how we should act. Then nobody acts that way with you, so you shouldn't do it to others. And with this long speech, but it's just like, so when I think it's finally done, right? Like we've gotten this established. Lord have mercy, Beth. All I said was, so, dry up your tears, gather yourself together, and when you go back out there, apologize to your sister for acting that way. Beth, you would have thought I told this girl to go into the kitchen, grab a knife, chop her foot off, hop around, and stick her hand in the blender because the tear. And I'm like looking at her like, what is this about? Like, all I did was tell you to apologize. Like, I don't know how that evoked so much emotion to say, hey,
I,
go apologize for being bad. You know what I
I,
mean?
I don't know. Because I had one of those too. She it wasn't the erupt in tears. It was the absolute, like, refusal to do it. Like, no,
To
I'm not
apologize.
apologizing. No, yeah, no, it was like I asked her that she was the second coming of Abraham, and I asked her to offer up her son Isaac as a sacrifice
Oh my
just
gosh.
to go and say sorry. I had one of those too. First of all, let me go back to it. I think it is in the Kid 101 handbook that when you're watching shows, you have to watch every episode at a minimum 5 times. So
Oh
to
my
that,
goodness.
it's hilarious that, she didn't want to watch her sister's videos when
Right.
it is a rite of passage. If there's a toddler involved or even a young school age child,
Yeah.
that anything that has been
Th-
watched.
a minimum.
I mean, right.
A minimum.
In multiples of 5. You have to watch it in multiples of
Beth,
5.
I can,
So,
some of these shows I know word for word.
right.
I be in the kitchen cooking, talking about some, if you can't find them, they must be dead. Like,
I
it's
am so
ridiculous.
so and I don't know what it is about the whole apology thing. Like what makes some children so adversely, you know, negatively affected when you ask them to go and apologize. Um but like I was saying, maybe it's just that she was a little bit, maybe it's when they're, I don't know if when they're tired and they don't want
Listen,
to do
okay,
it.
let's talk about that. Let's talk about this because I don't get that connection, right? So there are clear times where, like, shit, well, how people say it, they're cranky, right? Like kids get cranky and they're like, oh, they
Right.
must be tired. Why is that
Just go to bed.
connected to, yes,
It's just
I don't,
okay. So that was my, so I used to always think the same thing. Why are you're sleepy? Why are you crying about it? You have the luxury of just being able to fall out right here. Do you
preach.
know that if I'm in a bad mood and I'm cranky and I'm tired like I was today at work all day, I would have given anything for my boss to say, come here, go get your carpet square. Okay, go on underneath your desk and just take a nap. I would have given anything.
Right.
You have the luxury. What, you tired? Just fall asleep right now.
Just
You can
go.
remedy this situation ASAP.
Just go. Just
But the
go.
only thing I can think of is that when you're cranky, like when we're cranky and somebody is getting on our nerves or things aren't going right, we snap at, like we might snap at somebody.
Right.
It's the equivalent of their snapping. Like they don't know to snap, or you know what I mean? They don't know that they can just be like, because I don't want to. I'm sick of watching your videos all the time. They don't know how to snap. So
Right.
instead it turns into like a meltdown maybe of crying.
Oh my
I don't know. That's
gosh.
the only thing I can think of.
So listen, okay, so all right. So she did the meltdown after I said apologize, right? So then I was like, you know what? Listen, matter of fact, either now I am in her bedroom doing the podcast, but I was like, listen, I gotta do this podcast. But if you're gonna stay in here to gather yourself, fine, but you gotta be quiet. Or you can go out there, go in the front room on the couch and gather yourself and then, handle business. She says okay. She proceeds to walk out of this bedroom, Beth, and I hear her go into the front room, and all I hear is, and then like to the point of like making herself sick and coughing, and I'm like, yo, get back in here. So she comes back in, but now, not that I wasn't serious before, but now she knows. Oh shoot! So she comes in here like a deer in headlights. I'm like, what is that about? I'm like, listen.
Oh
First
my.
of all,
Oh my.
you didn't even get a pow pow. You didn't really even get in trouble. All we did was talk. I said, however, if I have to call you back in here one more time, best believe that's what's going to happen. And it's been quiet ever since. All I can hear is the TV out there. I don't think the background is picking it up. But it's like, why did we? The girl punishes herself enough as is. Like I don't even really get to spank hardly any because as soon as I start talking, you would have thought I'd have
That
laid
you would
hands
have,
on this child.
right.
So I'm like, and I'm not trying to add to that. So I'm like, okay, I'll just talk to you then. That's fine because she does learn, but it's like, good night. They
I
don't
don't get it.
tell you about, and this, listen,
They don't.
she's 5. She's 5, Beth. This ain't even terrible twos. I didn't have a terrible two section. So maybe that's why I'm thrown off right now because I'm like, what? She's 5 going on 15. Because I feel like the discussion that we have, she's a pandemic baby, so all she knows is grown up talk, and I know she understands because she can repeat it right
Right.
back to me and stuff. So it's not baby talk and stuff. So we're past that point. So when we're talking about these things, I'm like, what is happening? Like y'all didn't
It's
say
a
nothing about
it's
5.
no, it's a rite of, I'm telling you, I think it's a rite of passage. Each age has its own. I remember telling my sister, so I was the first one to have a child in my family, the
Okay.
youngest one alive, but was the first one to have a baby, if that tells you anything.
Okay.
So all of my siblings had children after me, and matter of fact, my oldest, not my oldest, my older, my one right up above me, she had her first child kind of later in life. I don't want to say very late in life, but
Yeah.
later. It would have been considered one of those geriatric pregnancies, post 35. So, um, and I remember trying to tell her, just now. Now let me take it back. This was the sister. She is very well put together to me. So hair done, nails
Yeah.
done. Um, what is that song? Hair's done, nails done, everything. She
Everything
that
did.
yes, that was her. I mean, everything matched.
Oh, you
Everything,
fancy, huh?
yeah. Oh,
Oh,
you
you
fancy,
fancy,
huh?
huh?
Designer, everything. She was just, and not in like a flagrant or a
But she just
blatant,
put
like kind of show
together.
offy way. It was just what she did, who she was,
Right.
and she had a lot of thoughts on like
Child rearing.
her yes, thank you, her siblings who had already had children, and how things would not be if she had a child, and how she wasn't going to do this with this child, and blah blah blah.
Right.
Okay, so time passed, and here she's in her mid to late 30s, pregnant with her first child. And I remember telling her, and she also has a tendency to be a little bit of a worrywart.
Okay.
And I would try to tell her, try not to stress or worry about like these things that your child is going through, because just try to enjoy the moment while you can, because each stage has its own.
Right.
So when her baby was a newborn, and she's like, I wish she would talk more. I can't wait till she does this. I'm like, don't wish for that too soon.
Right.
Enjoy this quiet and the sleeping and the peaceful and the everything, because you're gonna miss it when she gets to the toddler stage. And then
Right.
she got to the toddler stage, and if don't, I can't wait till no, just wait now. Hold on, slow
Right.
down. Enjoy this stage, because at the next stage there's gonna be something else that you are dealing with that you're gonna have to go through. So that's the whole thing. Like, each stage has its own, and
Yes.
thankfully, I mean, not that I'm by any means done. My kids are all grown, but you don't ever stop parenting, I don't think.
Yeah.
But I thank the heavens above that I am beyond that stage, like your stage
Oh.
in my life,
Oh.
because there are people who I know that are my age that, we talked about it, I think, on a past podcast.
Yeah.
People
Yeah.
who I know, I mean, I see people in their, I'm not in my 50s yet, but I see people in their 50s who have like toddlers, or talking about going,
Yes.
not toddlers, or even like elementary school kids. I work with a dude
Yes.
who's in his 40s who, his daughter is like, I think she's 7 or 8. I'm like,
Whew.
ah. And not that that's even, she's pretty much at the spot where she's, self-sufficient. She's a really
Right.
smart little girl, but still, it's just the thought. It makes me
Mm-hmm.
exhausted having to think about it, Dawn. So kudos and hats off and
Listen, well,
everything
I was
else.
I was worn out before I got on this podcast with you because I'm like, how this girl done drained me over some cake videos. Like that's the part that upsets me, right? I am tired because of talking about the necessity to be fair, and if your sister wants to watch a cake video, let her watch a cake video, and you don't complain about it. Like,
And they
and
don't,
it's so
and
funny that you say that about giving the advice to your sister, because that was my mom. Like, especially like when I was in Philly and stuff, and like I said, at the time I had Celeste, we were just the pandemic started a few months after that. I don't even think she was in one yet, so we were on lockdown. Da da da. So really, I had a blob with me, right? Like, we just sitting there looking at each other. She don't talk. She don't. You know what I mean? Like, she she wasn't even
boring. She all boring. No,
just boring. Like, ain't really bringing nothing to the table. Everything is so one sided. No,
why is it
but
all on me to come with everything?
right. Like, I got to
Do
entertain you. I
something.
got to make you laugh and not
Do
cry.
something.
Um, But it's like, and I remember saying it to my mom, and my mom was the same way. She, now, so you say that because I'm like, she doesn't talk. She's not talking yet. But I'm like, listen, don't. When it gets there, I don't want to hear it. And like to this day, because my little one's talkative. That's what she does. She gets the gift from me and her grandfather. So, but your girl will talk something to death, and it's cute and it is what it is. But my mom was like, remember that time you like when she doesn't talk, when she doesn't do.
I'm
I'm
telling
like,
you.
oh yeah, I remember.
And
I remember, mama.
and there's no manual. And the thing is, it's funny because as a parent, and for all our friends who are out there who are parents, I'm sure you can relate. For our ones who have not had children yet, take note because they don't tell
Run,
you about
save
they don't tell you about
yourself.
none of this stuff. Like, you hear, oh, parenting is like hard, or you know what I mean, but they don't really.
Yeah, like
It's a
the
lot. But guess
yes,
what? Learning how to tie your shoe is hard, but you eventually get it. You know what I mean?
right.
Learning how to ride a bike is hard until you figure it out. So, but the hard part about parenting, and let's just go ahead and throw it in there, not just parenting, the whole like being a spouse or having a significant other, the whole
Yes.
everything, like just the whole shebang, the whole kit and
When you
caboodle.
have an addition to yourself, when you've added
Yes.
something to, yes,
All of it's hard, and we say it's like, there are things out there to say it's difficult, it takes time, but nobody goes into like the intricacies of it. Nobody like delves
yes,
into like what's really hard about it, and
right.
and it's just a lot, and they don't tell you about the real struggles of like, we were just talking the other day about like being married. Don't get me wrong, I love my husband, but being married is it's a whole other thing
That's
because
a whole nother chapter.
it's a whole nother thing. I think we were talking about, I think like, oh, like if your spouse is gone and you're just there with your child and having to worry about like, okay, what are we going to eat for dinner tonight? And like, who's going to cook? And if they're not cooking, what am I going to cook? And it would just be so
Right,
much easier if there were like no expectations and I could just like do what I want to do.
right. Oh
And
my
nobody
god,
talks,
it's
you don't
hilarious.
talk. So that's what I've been trying to hit my girls to the game for a long time. I'm like, listen,
Right,
do everything that you want to do before you get married.
right.
Everything. And
Everything.
not that you don't enjoy your spouse and not that you don't enjoy doing things with your spouse. It's just different.
It
And
really is.
there are definitely positives to it. Um, there should be some perks. You should definitely get some perks out of it, because if not, what's the point? You know
Right,
what I mean? Like, there should
right.
definitely be something good that comes from it, but it's just not the same. So you have to consider someone else. So if
And
you're
that's
not
the
ready
thing.
to be selfless, then do everything that you want to do before then, because, and for the man too, not just for the woman.
Right.
I'm sure the man, not knowing, because not being a male and not knowing what it's like to be a husband, I'm sure that there are challenges that come with that, as far as trying to lead your family and to do that kind of stuff, and the pressure that
And
they take
listen,
on.
let's be honest. Women are interesting creatures. You know what I
We're
mean?
complex.
We
We are a
very
complex
complex. So I, like you said, now
group.
I can't even explain myself sometimes. So let alone from
Why did you do that? I'm just like a child.
right,
Why are you crying? Why are
right,
you saying, I don't know?
right.
I don't know. It's just like a little kid. Why did you do that?
And I
I
just
don't
don't. You just don't
know.
get it. You don't understand. So I,
Right.
you know what I mean. So it's like
Right, for
I
sure.
get that. Like, yeah, and it's like you said. There's no manual. So even like the talk I had tonight, there's no. I'm sure there's probably children's books, but it's funny because even some of these people that put out these like children's books, they don't even have kids.
They ain't got no kids.
It's studied and
They don't
based
have any
on
children.
at all. And the reason I say that is because like even the principal at my little one's school, doctor, excuse me, quote unquote doctor. She doesn't want to be called Mrs. It's doctor
I
so and
guess.
so. So when during the parent teacher conference, and she's like, and I'm here for your kid, and I appreciate it. I appreciate everything she said, but then she throws in there, And as though, even though I don't have children of my own, I'm like, well, now, Shaggy, like, you know what I mean? So like, I feel like in that aspect, no amount of schooling
It
that you
doesn't matter.
did
Does
on the
not
study
matter.
of children does not add
Does
up
not
to
matter.
having
Nope.
them, and you know
Nope.
what I mean? So
No, I get that you have some specialized training that might help you in some respects in this field, but there is no scenario that your training could give you.
right.
No, there's no role playing exercise that you can do.
There you
There's no, I
go.
don't care if you bring home a dozen eggs that you have to care for and make sure they don't break before you take them back to school. There is none of that that you can do. None of it.
It's funny because it's true.
There's
And I'm
none.
cracking up because in the back of my head, I'm thinking about this would have been the equivalent, and I'm not even trying to be funny. And friends, you know, be crazy. That would have been the equivalent of this lady, and she's a white woman, but saying like, "Oh, I took African American studies, so I'm."
I feel your struggle.
I feel like
I know, black sister, I know where you're coming
right.
from.
Like, well, now hold on.
All right, Rachel Dolezal, let's just back up a little bit. Let's pull
Like,
it back a
oh,
minute.
but do
I
ya? But
appreciate you trying to relate. I really
right.
do.
But
But
do ya? So that's what it was, and like I said, just even just tonight's conversation over cake videos and the importance of being fair, and that, like, there's nothing that can prep you to be ready for those kind of conversations. And I'm
yeah,
only at the start of it.
girl,
We only listen.
you have just dipped the big toe.
Okay, we only 5 years in, and I
Mm.
know I got a plethora to go. So it's like,
But you know what's nice is that you have friends who have
most
been through
definitely.
that. So
And
not that it makes 100% a difference, but you know some of the situations I've been in. You've heard some of the because kids, the things that they come up with to say and the comments, and
yes,
you've heard some of the things that my children have like responded to and how they've said things and how they've reacted, and it's
and
just
every
like
kid is different. It might be
everyone.
similarities, but every situation is different.
Yep.
And you're definitely right in the fact that I have so much time spending with you, Alexis, Carly, my friends that do have kids. I feel like that in itself helped me along with it, of course, having a great parents myself growing up,
Right.
being helpful enough to be in a loving home. But I'm just like having that on hands experience of seeing like it in action, that helped a lot. So it helps to know like certain things aren't so serious. I don't have to freak out so much. Like, you know what I mean? Like, no, this like I said, the similarities of okay, yeah, that's going to happen. Expect it kind of deal. So it did prep me in that, and I do. I mean, that's. So friends, if you don't got kids, get you some friends that do, so you can
It
learn if you're
does.
ready
It
for it or
makes a
not.
huge difference. Like I said, I was young when I had my son. So not only did I not have any my sibling, I was the first of my siblings to have children who are all
Right,
older than me. So not only did I not have that because I was young, and you are younger than me, and you know what I mean. None of my
right.
friends really had children, so let's just Lord hope I didn't screw them up like terribly. But I think back at some of the things, I'm like, I probably, there's a lot of things you could have handled differently, but you're just trying to make it is like you were trying to make your way through the cobwebs just to, like, you
Right,
know what I mean? Just
right.
trying to get through sometimes the other side. So if you have someone that you can, like, it makes a huge difference.
Look up
I,
to, or like,
yes, I
be there
tried to,
to, yeah.
in my mind, I called myself trying to be like, I don't want to say calm, but not like overreacting about a lot of things. I really try, but ask my kids. They might tell you something totally different. You know what I mean? So really, you do the best you can. But man,
Whew, I tell you what. But listen, so I mean that we'll call that segment real talk.
real talk. You know what though? Really quickly though, before we can move on, but I want to bring this up before I forget.
Yeah.
So someone told me something really interesting the other day, and I should say they asked me something very interesting the other day, and it kind of threw me off, but I got it. You know
Okay.
what that was?
No.
They texted me and asked me if I had a lisp. Now, I got this message out of the blue. I'm sitting on my couch, and I get a text from a friend that says, "Do you have a lisp?" And I'm like, "Huh?" I'm looking around. Am I like, are somebody, who, me? What?
But
And I said, "No, question mark, question mark." But I got 100% as soon as they said that. I got 100% why they said it. So, friends, to pull back the curtain a little bit, Dawn texted me out of the blue and
wait.
asked me if I had a lisp. I've known this girl more than half of my life,
Yeah. Yeah.
and I don't have a lisp. However, we have recently switched platforms
Go
on
ahead.
how we're recording this podcast. And I noticed myself one day when I was listening back to the edit that it sounded like I had a lisp. Like my S's were sounding like STHs. And I just assumed it was, I'm like, that sounds really weird. It sounds like I'm going like sounds like I'm saying sound, instead of but no one had said anything. And so I just assumed that it was just me and the way I was hearing it. But evidently not. Dawn, are you still there, Dawn? It looks like I'm recording this by myself. I'm not sure what happened to Dawn. Okay, well, I'll keep going. Maybe she'll jump back in. But apparently, some of you guys are hearing it as well. And I want you to know that I'm okay, that there is no lisp. Dawn, are you there yet?
I'm back. My
Okay.
bad. My
What
bad.
happened?
A phone call came through. It was my mama,
I
but I
told you to
ignored
put
it.
it, you're supposed to put it, but you got to put it on Do Not Disturb so you won't even get the phone call.
Oh,
But
listen, back up. What happened? What did I miss?
I was trying to explain to them that I was trying to let you tell them what you had heard, that someone had said to you, that they thought maybe I had a list. And I wanted to assure them that I don't have one. I've known Dawn for over half of my life, so the fact that she asked me that, I was really confused until I thought about it. So
Well, listen, because
I don't have
when
one,
it
I
was brought
promise.
to my
Not that.
attention,
Mm-hmm.
it 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 threw me, to be honest, and only because it made me second guess our whole friendship. Like you said, we've known each other for what, 20 some years?
Maybe more than
Maybe
that.
more than that. So when when it was asked, and it was the funny thing was, when it was asked, it was out of pure concern on the other party's side. Like it was like, does Beth have a lisp? And I was like, huh? I was like, and I'm looking up in the sky and I'm like, no. And so they proceed, and this is one of our avid listeners, which thank you so much for always tuning in. I mean, has listened to every episode, which made it even funnier. And so she mentioned that, well, and she's like, and it's just been here recently. She's like, so I was worried. She's like, is she okay? she's like, because like, it's like clearly there. She's like, when she went to say whiskey, it was whiskey and Wednesday. And so I'm cracking up. And I was like, no, I don't think she has. I was like, or maybe I just know her so well, like I've like overlooked it. So I, because I honestly don't want to like speak outside my terms, but I'm like, "No, I don't think so." And I was like, and she was just here and I didn't notice it. She goes, well, is she missing a tooth? And I'm like, no. And she goes, it was just so cute because like the concern and like the like genuine like, is everything okay? She goes, I just didn't know if it was like
is she
a
having a
secret
stroke during
between
the
you guys,
podcast?
like, or she's like something like an unspoken like secret between
No,
you guys that you haven't addressed.
no. But the thing is that I hear it. And when you went and listened to the playback, did you hear it?
I heard it.
Me too.
I did. But listen,
I've noticed it ever since we switched. See, I'm not helping the cause here. Ever since we switched to the new platform, it
okay,
it does sound a little bit different. And I heard, like I said, I played it the very first two or so episodes that we switched over to this. I heard it and I'm like,
right.
it sounds like I have a lisp. It really, really does. But I promise you, it's nothing. Listen, you hear that?
Yes.
That's my two front teeth. Uh, that's my
Are
two
you
front teeth
tapping
on the
them with your
bottom. Yep,
finger?
yep. So there's nothing there that my tongue would get like stuck in between.
Oh
I
my
don't know
God.
what it is and why it sounds that way. Um,
And like
and
even
it's
now
and
while
it
we're talking, I don't hear it. But when she mentioned it, and like you said, I went and listened again. Now I do listen to our playbacks before, they're published, and
right.
I didn't notice it. But when I went back and listened to what she was talking about, I was like, oh my gosh.
And I mean, like, I just recently drank the whiskey. That the whiskey podcast was just a couple of weeks ago. You know what I
Right.
mean? I
Right.
noticed it. So she noticed it like very recently. I've noticed it back since we switched to Riverside, which was, I don't know. That's been probably a couple of months now, maybe.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I've noticed it since then. But like I
That's
said, since no one
crazy.
else said anything, I just thought that maybe it was like my ears. But I just wanted to make sure. And if I did have a lisp, then that would be fine. There's nothing wrong with
No,
it. I just
yeah.
want to let you know that I'm not sure what that is and
It's
why
not a
it sounds
hidden
that way.
secret. It's
No,
not
it's not a
a
secret. So I apologize if that's throwing you guys off. I don't know why it sounds that way. So but when Dawn, I mean, when you sent me that text, like I said, I was like, who, huh? I looked around and I was like, who,
well,
me?
listen, this is how, so much so that we're closely linked. My reaction was the very same. So
Right.
just know that
I
I'm
was
like,
like,
oh, no, no.
okay. So
All
now that
right.
I just wanted to address that just in case
Right.
anybody else was thinking
We
that.
got that out of the way. Um,
Move on.
listen, did you see now? And I'm so glad now that I'm telling you, the stuff that we discuss on here, it all comes right back around. I'm so glad that I brought up iRobot, which made you go watch iRobot, because now, have you seen the news about Elon Musk and like these inventions that are about to come out?
Mm, Unless you're referring to, I just saw on the news, I think yesterday or the day before, about a taxi and some kind of a van that will pick you up
Right,
and it won't have a driver.
right. And the robot. He's coming out with a robot that looks so similar to the robots on iRobot. First of all, have we learned nothing? They're going to be about $30,000, and it's supposed to help you around the house, help you da da da. And it had a what's it like? Not a commercial, but it was like, I guess for lack of a better word, a commercial showing like this robot in action, like in the home, helping the homeowner like carry groceries, play with the children at the table and stuff. And I'm like,
I have not seen this at all.
the robot itself is called, I think it's called
Don't you
Op-
dare.
Optimus or something like that.
What is going
And
on?
I'm like,
Do we
but
trust this man?
and listen, and when they did side by side photos of like the taxi and the car that Will Smith got out of in iRobot and the car that Elon Musk is coming out with,
Are they
very
similar?
very similar. The robot
Listen,
itself from iRobot and the
no,
robot he's designed,
no,
very
no.
similar.
If a car comes to pick me up and there is no one in it, there is no way in the world I would get in that car. Are you kidding? Would you get in that car?
Well, listen, I
There's
just feel well,
no
and
way in the world.
I read a comment so on one of them, and it was so true. It was like, oh, how did it say it? I forget what it compared it to. It's like people laughed 5 years ago at the thought of some invention. I don't know if it was like the electric car or something. Like, and look where we are now. So most definitely, I think this is going to happen. There was a time when the model was don't get in a car with a stranger, and what do we have? Uber. What do we have? Uber Plus. So things change, and I'm just like, but have we learned nothing from that though? Have we not seen
Um,
what can happen when the three rules don't conflict with each other and the chaos that it causes? I'm just
unless I have a manual override button and I can override, like you give me access to manually override this, there's no way in the world.
but how would they wouldn't do that if it's like a taxi service. They're not going to give you a manual override for the car that's coming to pick you up through a service. That's scary. Now,
But
like your own personal car,
that's scary.
huh?
Not giving me a manual override button is scary. That what? How do I know that you're going to take me? How do
I'm
I
just
know that
saying.
you are going to heed my wishes?
I'm just
What if
saying.
I want to go to Aldi and you try to take me to Winn Dixie? I don't want to go to Winn Dixie. What if it's a paid partnership? That's not what I want. I
He's
don't
trying to go to
trust it.
Aldi. It's taking you to Walmart. I'm like, hold on now. This ride was sponsored by Walmart.
There you
Please
go.
enjoy the ride.
Exactly. Exactly. Against my wishes. I don't. I don't know about that, Dawn.
I
First, okay, so
know
first of
it's
all, I'm
crazy.
definitely not getting into a car. When this popped up on whatever news show it was, and I said to my husband, I'm like, there is no way in the world I am stepping foot in a car that doesn't have a driver.
Right.
I had no idea about this actual robot person.
Oh, wait till you
Okay,
look it up. I'm telling you, it's
so if
crazy.
it's $30,000,
Yeah.
that is going to be a select clientele
Right.
that can afford to pay that money. I mean, okay, let me think about this because you think about an executive or a person, honestly, if it's $30,000 and you can program it to do what you want, that's pretty cheap if you think about maybe an executive that hires an executive assistant,
Okay.
and the
Yeah.
starting salary of an executive assistant I would say easily is about $50,000. So you're kind of getting off cheap
Yeah.
if you were to, you know what I mean? If you think about it that way, I'm thinking, okay, so this is something that only a person who is wealthy would be able to indulge in, who would have the money that they could afford to spend on that. However, if you think about it in a like an employment type of way, that's relatively cheap for
But also
hiring.
scary because then that's replacing
Listen,
labor. You know
I
what I
have
mean?
enough
Human labor.
issues. It's scary that way. And there's enough people at work that I have to deal with that might get on my nerves. I'm not trying to put up with robot Karen.
Incorrect filing. Please try again.
I wish you would.
You have been on your lunch for exactly
I wish you would. Yeah. Mm-mm.
30.1.4 seconds.
There'd be a lot of
Please
throwdowns
go back
at
to
the,
your
at,
desk.
yes. No. Mm-mm. But yeah, I didn't think about it that way. As an
Yeah.
assistant, no, there's no way. There's
She said
no way.
no.
I'm
But that's,
already
I mean,
thinking about
it's,
I'm already thinking about like, listen, I am known for composing a very uh, specifically toned email to someone, as noted in my previous email. Please, right, don't let me as per the attachment, you will notice
right.
that yes, don't get me a, oh man.
So, I mean, that, like I said, that was the latest. It's great. You have to look it up. And I couldn't imagine in the household, right? You're asleep, and then what if you wake up and that sucker's standing over you?
But that's what I'm saying. Do we trust Elon Musk? Like, I feel like he can control all of that stuff. He has everybody's data. He's got everybody's, like, you know what I mean? When you
Right?
think about, he's already got how many people are on X? So all the data that he has that comes
What?
with that. Huh?
Oh, like the Twitter thing, girl. I thought you meant
Yeah.
like the drug. I was like, what
Oh,
does that have to do with it? I was like, he's a drug dealer too?
ah, Lord.
I was like, hold on, wait a minute. He just got his
So
hand in
you think about
everything.
e- everything. You think about the information that he gets from and the access that you give him. Just like whenever you sign up for any of these apps, you
Right.
give them when you sign that user agreement that you don't even really pay attention to. You're giving them access to your photos, to your contacts, to your this, to your that. You know, all that stuff. So he's got access that way. If
Listen,
you if you
pause.
drive one of his cars, he's got access that way. Like, I mean, look at all the information. And this man's he's a little bit interesting. He's a little bit
Strange.
strange.
Beth, speaking of user agreements and sign up, did we talk about that?
Disney?
Yes.
No.
We didn't.
Nope.
Oh my god! When you said that, that's what made me think of. So,
Yeah, that's what
friends,
I'm
I don't know
saying.
if y'all heard that there was a man who lost his wife, in a accident at was it Disney World or
I
some
believe it was Disney
form
World.
of Disney. Turns out, and I think he was going to like try to sue him or whatever the case may be. Long story short, he was unable to do so because of what he signed for the Disney Plus TV subscription. I guess there's like some fine print in there that, when wrapped back around, showed that it, like, he couldn't do it. Like he couldn't like get any,
Yeah, they
you
had
know,
him. They got their bases covered all the way around. So you come into their park, they're going to assume that you have the Disney Plus app because you got all. Because if you're a Disney fan, then of course you're going to have the Disney Plus app because that's where all their movies are and all their everything is. So they've got it covered. They've got themselves covered coming and going. Because if you try to do anything to them, they can't have you. I mean, maybe they can't have you sign something or whatever when you buy and purchase a ticket, but just to double back, they're going to reinforce that
right.
by making sure that you are signing something, giving away all your rights to sue and whatever else. It's unbelievable. That's what I'm saying.
Oh,
Girl, don't get me on
like
the.
it broke. I'm like, from how they even connected a Disney Plus subscription to an accident that happened at Disneyland. Wow.
I'm telling you, all these big businesses, like all like these major conglomerates and these parent companies and and kind of offshoots, all this big major like consumerism and it is like I'm telling you, it is all evil.
Yeah.
These people are
Like
like
for
I'm
real.
telling you, they are for real, for real.
Like
It's like a mess.
to even want to get out of paying this man. You know what I mean? Like you could. I get it's a business. I get it's a big business. I get that you
And there are
have
very
to.
litigious people out there who will try to take advantage of that. I get that
Yes,
as well, and having to protect
most
yourself.
definitely.
I get that.
But to they stoop as low as, well, you should have read the fine print when you signed up for Disney Plus subscription. Like really, really, come on now. Oh,
Yeah. So then take that and what you got, Mr. Musk. I don't know. He's a little bit of an eccentric type person and he lets his freak flag fly. I mean, some of these business people, you don't know. He don't try to hide his. He's out
right,
there.
right.
And he's getting everybody all this like information and stuff. I just like what does he do with all that? We're concerned about when I say we people about the Russians getting or not the Russians, the Chinese getting when on TikTok getting all your data and blah blah blah. I mean, I don't
But you know what?
anybody
Honestly,
having your data. It's like it's a
right.
lot
But
of
excuse me, with him, and this is why I'm not too concerned. and maybe I'm not maybe there are far more people more important than me, but when he has your first of all, he's the rich, like you said, he lets his freak flag fly. He's the one of the richest people in the world. What really could he do with your information? Okay, he gets Dawn's information. She's broke. I mean, like
Right.
what? There's really nothing he could do.
I
Oh,
know.
she lives
And you're
here.
right.
Okay,
You're
what's
right.
he gonna do? Send a
I don't
robot
know.
to? I feel like if that's the case, all the people that it should be reversed. Like if you get your information and sees that you broke, oh, fill my bank account. If he sees
Right.
that you too, take some out, spread it. But it's like I really don't
There's
get.
nothing they can do with it. I guess it's just like,
I feel like it's a well, but it just goes to show. I feel like along those lines, it's a real, it's a scare tactic to use towards people. You know what I mean? Like people are legit concerned about, oh my gosh, my information's out there. Okay, so your information is out there, and unless you really have something to lose, I mean,
well, now listen, not necessarily. I'm a little bit kind of not disagree with you, but kind of because people get their identity stolen all the time. Now, I'm not talking about Musk or Elon Musk or these conglomerates and these big businesses, but I'm talking about having your information out there. Your information being out there is kind of scary because people have lost they've lost everything from somebody getting their information and then stealing their identity. That's a big deal.
yeah,
So
it
so
is. I mean,
so
again,
I
and I
mean,
err on the side of, but that's if you got something to lose. Maybe
no,
listen, I'm so
you don't have to have nothing to lose. If
I,
you don't, everyday regular schmegular people are getting their identities stolen, people using their social security numbers and things like that just to rack up credit, to do this or whatever. It just makes it difficult for you. You don't have
yeah,
to be anybody special. You don't have to have you don't have to be some celebrity with a crazy net worth. You
yeah.
could just
You're
be a
right. You're
regular
right.
schmegular Joe Schmo. And if I now, you have ruined my credit, and so I can't
Yeah, buy a
buy
house
my
or
house or buy a
yeah,
car or get it's a huge deal, and you've got
yeah,
to rectify that. So I don't know. I mean, but at the same time, it doesn't stop me when I think about it. I can get, I'm worried about Elon Musk, who doesn't want anything to do with me. When if I'm gonna be concerned about anything, I should be concerned about these everyday hackers, because they're the ones who might be able to access my information and might make it hard for me to
right.
be able to, you know, do whatever. And now I've got to go about rectifying and getting everything in a row to show that I didn't purchase that I didn't do this, that I didn't do that, and getting my name back. So it's a lot. It's a lot.
It really is. But you're right though. But I feel like we brought each other back around. You made me realize, like you said, you don't have to be a
And you made me
celebrity.
realize that Elon Musk does not want broke bet at all. He does
There we
not
go.
care.
And that's how we meet in the middle. That's how we meet in the middle.
Okay.
Let me see what else.
I want to say, can I
Beth.
see? Okay, go
Oh, go
ahead.
ahead. Go ahead. Go ahead. No, you
Well,
go.
really quickly, just because we were talking about Disney World, Florida. I'm in Florida. Last week we had some crazy, crazy stuff going on in the state with
Oh my
Hurricane Milton and
yes,
stuff like
buddy.
that. So just
Yes.
to address that really quickly, I listen. Wanted to run down the street to go see David Muir from ABC News because he was in my area because of all of the tornadoes and stuff. I don't know if you know who David Muir is. I
I
like David
don't,
Muir.
but I can
He
only
is on the
imagine.
ABC Evening News,
Oh my
and
gosh.
I found out that he was like right down the street from me. I'm like, oh, David Muir was here. Okay, anyway,
Let me go put on
so
my poncho and
let me run down and see David. Hey, David. Hey, David. Anyway, y'all want to see me in the background on CBS News? Been like, hey, so it was crazy. We were so busy preparing for the hurricane.
yeah.
Um, I the day the hurricane was supposed to hit, which was Wednesday, I did not go into work that day because I had a doctor's appointment. Um,
Uh,
as I've mentioned
no,
here before, go ahead.
how you
What?
go, heifer,
What?
heifer?
What?
Not, I didn't go into work because I was preparing for the storm, the
No.
upcoming storm. I had a doctor's appointment.
Well, listen. It
Oh,
wasn't supposed to hit land and hit the West Coast until later on that evening. So even though schools and some of the city offices, the government offices were closed, a lot of businesses were like business as usual. And we'll kind of play it by ear. And don't forget, I work about an hour from where I live. I work in West Palm. So
Okay.
the cone of uncertainty where the um, hurricane was going to be hitting, Palm Beach County was not in that cone, whereas my county was in that cone.
Okay.
So my job wasn't necessarily like overly concerned about, I mean, they weren't not overly concerned, but they didn't shut down. And
Okay.
I had this doctor's appointment I had been waiting 3 months for. It was just so happened to be on that Wednesday. And I was a little bit perturbed, matter of fact, leading up to it, because I had tried to call the doctors to see if they could move my appointment to early in the morning or later in the afternoon, because it was dead smack in the middle of the day. And I'm like, I'm going to drive to work to get there for a couple
Right.
hours, have to turn around and drive back here. It's just a waste of my day. You know what I'm saying?
Yes.
And they wouldn't change it. So I took a sick day that day so that I could go to my appointment. And I was kind of worried because I'm like, okay, both of my daughters work in the medical field. Both of their offices were closed.
Okay.
And I was like, I have not gotten any kind of message, email, phone call about canceling my appointment or rescheduling my appointment. So I guess because it's not supposed to hit until the evening, that maybe some offices, my appointment is at 1. Um,
Right.
Maybe they're going to still have the appointments because it'll be early enough. So I'm not going to worry about it. And even to be safe, about noon, I was like, well, let me just go ahead and call and just make sure I should come. Because I'm going to tell you, when I woke up that morning and I didn't go in and I went out and I walked the dogs, it felt very weird outside. I don't
Mm.
know how to describe it. It just felt weird. It was unusually warm. I mean, it's already warm down here, but it was like,
Right.
it was
Like
cloudy
a
and
different type of
overcasty.
warm.
Yes, because it was like 90 some degrees outside, but there was no sun. So typically, if it's 90 degrees outside, there's sun.
Yeah.
The sun is what's helping make the temperature that high. There was not. The sun was nowhere to be found. It was very cloudy, very overcasty, and you walked outside and it was hot, and it just felt really, really weird. Even though it was hot, there was still a breeze, but it was still 90 some degrees outside. It just felt weird. I don't know how to describe it. So around noon, I was like, well, let me just call and make sure that I should be coming in. So I call, the answering service picks up, and they're like, they're at lunch from noon to 1. However, we don't have they've not given us any notice or any indication that the offices are closed. So we're gonna say to keep your appointment and to go in, because we haven't gotten any notice that they're not there.
Okay.
So I'm like, okay, that's fine. So I get ready and I go into the office. Girl, why do I pull up there? There is Nan car in the parking lot. And
No.
the building is dark. There's not anybody stirring inside. I'm like, no, they didn't. Nobody called me. Nobody did anything. And like I said, I've been waiting 3 months for this appointment. I was
Oh
fit
my.
to be tied. But
Woo.
I was like, there ain't nothing I can do about it, but I'm going to let them know. I called the answering service while I was at the doctor's office. I called the answering service on the way home to let them know that I had been there. I wanted them to notate my account. I was so
Yeah.
aggravated about that. But on my way back home, my phone goes off and it's a tornado warning. And I'm going to tell you, from that moment on until probably 10 o'clock that night, it was non-stop warnings going off on my phone. And it was the weirdest feeling outside. So we had, I want to say, I can't remember how many official tornadoes actually touched down in this area,
Yeah.
but I remember counting at least 9.
Oh.
And when I'm telling you, like, constantly, it was like, there are no basements in Florida. So when you get
Oh
this
my
tornado
goodness.
warning, there is nowhere to go. You have to go like into your interior room or into a
Yeah.
bathroom or whatever. But these warnings were going off left and right, left and right, left and right. And
I can't
I
even
am
imagine.
so fortunate because nothing hit right by me, but 5 miles down the road, there is complete destruction. 5 miles
Oh.
um northwest, there's complete destruction. 5 miles south, there's complete destruction. I mean, I don't know how many people watch the news, but on one road, which was Midway Road, which we used to live over there when I first moved into Florida, we lived on that side of town,
Yeah.
and that was probably maybe a mile or two from my house over there. The sheriff's office, police department is over there, and
Yeah.
there's a big steel structure, like a hangar, and it houses a lot of the county vehicles in there, like the sheriff deputy cars.
Yeah.
The complete and total structure, like, it it knocked it to the ground. Um,
Oh my
and and it's
gosh.
funny because Palm Beach County was supposed to get nothing. They got slammed as well. There was a neighborhood where there are new neighborhoods everywhere here, popping up everywhere. So this
Yeah.
was a new community that the houses were still being built. One of the dumpsters, the huge, like, 2-ton dumpsters that you put
Debris
your thing,
dumpster thingies.
yes,
Yeah.
ended up on somebody's roof.
Oh my gosh.
Dawn, when I tell you there was, I mean, and then it was like these twisters. I don't know if anybody saw this on the news. These things were huge. I mean, the base of these tornadoes were huge.
Oh my
And they
gosh.
didn't just touch down and, like, go back up. It was like they were playing, like, Russian roulette. Touchdown, up. They would touch down, go up. You know, 100
Like
yards down,
picking
touchdown,
spots.
go up. Just like, I mean, nonstop, like, just touching down, going up, touching down, going up. So it just caused, like, it was just, you didn't know if it was going to hit you, or there's
Oh
houses on
man.
one side of the block that are, like, completely gutted, and then across the street nothing happened. It was such an
Oh
odd
wow.
phenomenon. They're like,
Yeah.
they've never seen anything like it before. I felt like I was back in the Midwest. They're like, we don't get tornadoes. Like, they might get a tornado after a hurricane. It's kind of a side effect, but
Right.
not to the extent. This was all before the hurricane hadn't even touched down yet.
Oof.
This was all prior to Hurricane Milton even hitting. So it was just, so in the end, while I was complaining and grumbling about not going into work, I'm so happy I didn't, because there was a tornado that hit I-95 exactly where I would have been around the exact time that I would have been coming home. So around 5:30,
Oh my
one hit on
gosh.
95 in the county, like right here. As I would, it's almost like exactly where the areas where I would have been in at that time.
Yeah.
It flipped over a trailer truck, like a 18-wheeler.
Yeah.
I mean, just like craziness. So I was like, okay, Beth, just calm down and shut up, because
Right.
it could have been way worse. So it was
Ooh.
just nuts. And so,
The
and on top of all that, I'm sorry, I know I'm going on a lot. We were so fortunate is that are on, like, there's a city hall police station at the end of our block. And so we
yeah.
are on their grid. So typically, if power gets lost, we often don't lose our power, or it might flicker and stay off for a second, but it typically comes back on because we're on their grid. And I think for them, they have to have, like,
Yeah.
generators and things so they don't lose
Mm-hmm.
their power. Um, our neighbors behind us, our neighbors to the, uh, what would that be? That would be to the north of us. None of them had power all the way until it was from Wednesday night until Sunday. None of them had power. I was walking the dogs, and there was a lady. I heard people's generators out, and I'm like, I wonder why everybody has their generators going. And so then one of my neighbors was sitting outside, and she was like, I said, "You guys get your power back?" And she was like, "Just about 30 minutes ago." She goes, "Did you guys get yours back?" I said,
Mm.
I,
Mm.
I said, "We never lost our power. I'm so sorry. We
Don't
never
ask
lost our power."
questions, but that can be reciprocated. How you go? You guys eating okay over there? Well, we just now got a piece of chicken. How about you? Oh, well, we've had 3 pizzas.
I
Uh,
just, yeah, it was just like, I'm like, oh my goodness, their power has been out all this time. So I'm thinking about all the food that they've lost in there, unless they had a
yeah.
generator. The generator kept, but not everybody had a generator. So it was just like, but then it explained, like, why so many people were just sitting outside. Like, you know what I mean? Like,
Howdy ho, neighbor.
I'm
Good to
walking the
see you out
dogs,
and
not
about
thinking twice
today.
about it. People just sitting out in their, windows open,
Oh my
Now it all
gosh.
makes sense. Like now it's like, oh, that's why y'all were sitting outside with the windows
Aha.
open.
Aha.
I'm so sorry.
I'm so, I'm so
So
sorry. I'm so
we
sorry.
were very, very fortunate, but it was quite an eventful, several hours. And then that night when the hurricane did hit and the winds were it was pretty wild. So
Man, I really can't imagine that whole thought is just scary. But you guys, so as far as your house and you
yeah,
guys and your cars and stuff, everything's cool and
everything. So
intact.
we've got some trees doing the shoulder lean because we did have some, the wind. They're doing a pretty good lean on a couple of our trees, but because our house is a newer built house, the trees they're young trees, so their roots weren't really firm,
Okay.
so they're a little bit like I said, doing a little gangster lean, little leaning over. But outside
Represent
of that,
yourself.
yeah, outside of that, I cannot complain. So
Okay, that's good, buddy. That's good. And we know our friend Carly.
same
What?
thing. She go ahead. I'm sorry.
No, no. I was just about to say I don't think that she had much damage. I know she said that there was flooding, but it didn't get up to the house or
No,
anything
I
like
mean,
that.
and there are people that had some really, I mean, a lot of devastation, but I will say it was projected to be so much worse than it was. So
Yeah,
not to belittle
downplay.
or downplay at all what people have lost. It could have been so much worse. It was
Yeah,
projected to be so much worse. So it was bad, but I mean, I think it was projected to hit at like a category 3, and I think when it hit, it was a category 2. But we're still talking 100+ mile per hour winds, which here I think it only got like to 60 or 70. And my
okay.
husband went outside and he was like, it was unbelievable. Like it's like he's like the sound of the wind and the speed. He'd never seen anything like it before, but he had to go outside and just kind of be like, what's this? What's all the talk about? You know what I mean? And so he
Oh
went
wow!
outside just to
Listen,
kind of
he's that dude in the movie. He is that dude in the movie. Well, what's going on out there?
let's see what all the fuss is about. Yeah. So he said it was crazy. He said the wind was like, it wasn't even touching the ground. It was like up in the sky, but it was just like unbelievable. And
Wow.
I know the girls said like we put our shutters up and everything, our hurricane shutters up, and they were
Yeah.
like the whipping and the sound of the wind. They thought it for sure it was going to blow the shutters off the house. Meanwhile, your girl was knocked out. I didn't hear anything. So I mean,
Ah, wake up. Where everybody at?
right.
Guys? Hello? Narco?
So I guess
That,
anyway.
oh
So
man.
anyway, I just wanted to. I didn't want to
No, that's a good
not
update, and especially
you
being
know
that you were live at 5 in the eye of the
right.
storm. Like, goodness gracious, you and Carly,
I
and
was the only
you know
person I didn't get to see was my girl now I've said her, Nora O'Donnell. So anyway,
who is that, Beth?
she's from the CBS Evening News. Dawn,
Oh
come
my
on.
gosh, you dork.
I am definitely a CBS Evening News type of girl. Nora O'Donnell is my lady. However, my husband likes ABC News. That's where I got introduced to David Muir. I like them both.
Oh my gosh. Anyway, speaking of in the news, so I was cracking up because I feel like this dude has lost so much cool points and swag. I just seen a recent pic of your favorite person, Taylor Swift and Travis Kelce.
Girl, downhill, can we say?
Like, I don't understand it.
Where did it go?
I
Where
don't
did it go?
know. When I first was introduced, and I say that lightly, I'm just saying as far as football and stuff, to Travis Kelce and even his brother, I'm like, oh, those are some real cool dudes. You know, he got swag, he looks good. And like now he looks like somebody's creepy uncle. And I'm like,
Cool
from the
all the way,
stash,
all it went all the dude used to be, I mean, just like
swaggerific.
suited up all the time,
Yes.
on it all the time, line up, outfit, like you said, just the swag, just the everything had.
Yeah.
now he's walking out in Hawaiian shirts, untucked, with a pair of New Balance tennis shoes, which I know are supposed to be cool right
Yes.
now, and the khakis. And it's like,
And like the
did you
creepy
raid my
dude
dad's closet?
stash.
Right. It's just, I said the exact, it's so funny because because me and my girls, we've known about Mr. Kelce for a minute.
Yeah.
Back several years ago, because he was known, because I knew about him because I was like, he looks good. And
Right.
I was like, all right, man, okay, look at you.
Why you
I
say
don't know what happened.
why you say look at you.
Look at you. Look
Look
at you
at
doing.
you. And
Hmm.
I promise you, I felt like I was like, I wonder if in their private conversation she's like, although all eyes are on him for a different reason, but it's kind of like you need to like slow it down. I need to be the one that's looking good because from to go from swaggerific to creeperific it's such a huge jump.
But I feel like as a couple, your fit has to match my fit. Like, let's do this together. Like, so his previous girlfriend, his ex-girlfriend, she was a beautiful girl.
Yeah.
And together, regardless of how the relationship went, together as a couple, their swags matched each other.
Right.
What did Fabulous say? I mean, you gotta match it. So
Right.
I feel like it fit, it worked. And I feel like maybe that wasn't really him. Maybe she brought that out of him. Maybe he has always been, he's the 35-year-old middle-aged man from Ohio. I don't know, because
I
that's what he's
guess
giving right now, and that's just
right.
not what. Maybe I don't know what he was like before he was with
I
this
was just
girlfriend.
about to say that. I'm like, I just need some previous pictures, like even before the ex girlfriend. How was he looking? But right now, it's like even if you just keep it in that time frame of the ex girlfriend to Taylor Swift, I'm like, dude, really?
Unless like you said, that was always this is always who he was, has been, and Taylor didn't or doesn't care about like that. But she loves him the way that he is, and however, which is fine, which is great. You know what I mean? But because she cares about her appearance, and everything that she wears and everything that she does is so calculated and planned out. I mean, from her outfits to her hair to the way she does everything. You don't Nothing that she does is not calculated. You know what I mean? Nothing that she does
Right.
is not preconceived and set down. And I
For
mean,
a
it is
reason.
absolutely everything that she does. So it just, because she cares about how she looks, and because she goes out looking a certain way, she knows that cameras are going to be on her, so she plays into that.
But the camera's gonna be on him too.
Well, that's what I'm just saying. I would think that they would match their energies would match in that respect.
Oof.
Like, kind of
It's
like
like
with his ex-girlfriend. It doesn't have to be the same exact style, but now it's a lack of style.
right. It's just
You know
it's
what I
hard
mean?
to
So
watch. I'm just like, it seems unexplainable, and I guess that's what throws me because I'm like, Taylor is pretty. You know what I mean? She dresses
she
nice.
don't
She
ever come
looks
out the house without her red lip and her hair. You know what I mean? She
right.
always is put together. So, and that's the opposite of his look to me. It's like not put together. It's like,
Oof.
I was just at home. Okay, let's leave and go to it's not, that's what I'm saying. It's,
That
and the
or
thing is, his clothes
listen,
could be
that or
very,
hey, little girl, you want some candy? Like it just.
and there's no doubt to me that everything that he's wearing is probably a high ticket item. It's probably all name brand.
Yeah.
It's just the way that
Except for
it
them New
is.
Balance shoes. Yeah,
It's just the way that it's all like put together.
Oof.
It
It's
just
rough.
doesn't, yeah, it just is not the same. Me and the girls were saying the exact, like, what happened? He used to be so, I don't know,
Just look good. He used to
Yeah,
look good.
it's just not the same anymore.
He used to look attractive, and now he just looks like he's one. or 3 beers away from like being the dude on the corner.
Yeah, it's so funny that you say that because it is. It's so true. It's so true. I don't know. I noticed the exact same thing.
Ay, ay, ay. I don't know. Okay, that's
All
what I
right.
had. I'm trying to think what else. Hey, what is going? You know who I like, and
Eh,
while they're in the news, I feel like they keep a low key, like they don't make too much of themselves, or they themselves don't do it. Of course, you know, media, paparazzi, yada yada yada. But Zendaya and Tom Holland.
I like them as a couple. I think they're cute.
And I think she is so cute. That girl is,
Oh, she's got it together.
oh my good. And you know, I know she's like exclusive with Law Roach as her designer and stuff, but he be having that girl looking so
She looks
just
good
like,
always. Even when she's like low key playing it down, like, even when she's dressing down, she looks better than half the
yes,
people do dressed up. You know what I mean?
yes, so
It,
elegant, and she
it,
carries
and she
herself
carries
well.
it so. She does. She carries it so well. And she carries it. She looks, I mean, very confident in it, but not like overly, like doesn't come off at all
Right,
like, what's the word I'm looking for?
like she's trying too
Or
hard. It's
or stuck up or what? I mean, she
yeah,
looks flawless even when she's like quote unquote bumming it, but it looks so effortless and just
yes.
looks chic even when it's not. You know, she does a good, yeah, does a good
And
job.
I like her in interviews. She's very down to earth, very,
Yeah,
and even him, he's just adorable. And I
yeah, he's a
feel
little
like
cutie.
he looks like he's just so in love.
He loves that girl.
Right.
Listen, us talking like we know, but that's what it
I know,
comes like.
right?
That's what it
Like,
comes
listen, like we they aunties, and he's just so good for her, and they just get. But it's the truth. I don't know. It's just something about them, and like I said, they're in the news, but I don't feel like covered like that.
Yeah,
But it's just that I don't know. So like to me, it's a little bit more low key, even though they are there. But it's I don't know. It's just
superstars. Even though
they give me a
they're
good
equally a
feeling when I think
superstar.
about them.
Yeah,
You know what I mean? I'm like, oh,
yeah.
look
Okay.
at what do they call? Do they have a nickname? I was about to call like Zinye or something. I don't know, but
Tom Daya.
Tom Daya, yeah,
I made that
yeah,
up. I
something
don't
like
know
that.
what
Uh,
they're. I don't know.
I know, right?
I have no
But
idea.
yes, I like them in comparison. Like I said, with old boy and old girl, and
Yeah, and he's out and about a lot for being, in season. Like, for them being in like actually football season, he seems to still be, usually when it's time for football, these dudes lock down and lock in and they, that's their main goal. That's their focus. You don't see them out and about doing a whole lot of stuff, but
which makes you think. Then is it like marketing or whatever the case may be? I
publicity,
don't know.
PR, and all that kind of
Yeah, yeah.
stuff.
There you go. Publicity and
There's
yeah.
been a lot. I mean, there's been speculation, and then there's people saying absolutely not. It's hard to tell.
Mm.
I feel bad for him though if something ever happens and they don't end up together because her following has completely jumped on board. They like, his following has jumped up because of her. Even though,
Mm.
he was well and famous and good before her, all of the, the Swifties who weren't aware of him before are now aware of him. So that's a whole, you know
Right.
what I mean? But Lord have mercy if something happens with the two of them.
Whew. The
Yeah. So
backlash.
he better
Listen,
do right
which
by
then
her.
goes on to say when you say like fans and stuff. What have you seen this thing like the thank you Beyonce thing?
Dawn, don't
What
get me
is
started on that.
what is that about? All I know is my first my first knowledge of it was a clip that it was like Jojo Siwa. Is it Siwa? How you pronounce her
Uh-huh.
name?
I didn't see that clip.
And she said, let me just say, thank you, Beyonce, for. She's like, I had to say that for the dance community and stuff. And they were talking, like, a lot of people were like, man, I don't like JoJo Siwa, but she was iconic for doing that. And of course, I had to go delve into the comments because I'm like, well, what was the importance of that? And they were saying how basically, like, if like to make sure that you're not canceled or to have like you better thank Beyonce in order not to be canceled.
So if you go back and you look at almost every, well, if you go back and look at the award shows and all these female singers who have won Best Female Singer, Album of the Year, blah, 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 they all, and I won't say all because I don't know all of them, but the way they compile these little clips, it appears to be a lot of them. When they get up there and they give their acceptance speeches, they all thank Beyonce, even though she had
Oh,
nothing to do with their albums.
oh,
And so it's like, it's alluding to the fact that she is too part of this whole very dark, twisted
oh,
scenario involving Diddy and all, and Jay-Z is right there and the whole conglomerate and the whole, they've been linked to the Illuminati for so long and all that kind of stuff, how,
yeah.
and all these rituals that go on and blah, 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 that they have to give like thanks and homage to her to appease the powers that be so that they can continue and
Oh,
have their. Now, are you aware of what I've said about Beyonce forever? Not just the fact that she's just, we both have mentioned that she's decent and she's a great entertainer, but there are singers that are probably better. There are dancers that probably are probably
right.
better. But are you aware of what my theory was on her years ago when it came to other female artists?
I think you had mentioned it before about like if someone was up and coming, she had to work with them.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, and so my feel is like, to me, if any, I thought this just because I would see a like a female artist coming up who was doing great. And before I knew it, there would be a remix of their song and Beyonce would be on it. And it was
Right.
almost like I felt personally that she couldn't let anybody maybe get some accolades or get up and possibly that might do better or be better than her. And so she would jump on the record. And then that way, if it blew up, she could say it blew up because she was on there.
Now listen, if that were true, right? Say that is true. I can see why she hasn't done it with J Lo because there's nothing to worry about there.
Right.
But
But think about, but J-Lo's
but why
part of that,
hasn't she done it with like
but J-Lo's in that
Pink?
mix. J-Lo's in that mix as well.
But
You
why
know what I'm
hasn't she
saying?
done it with like Pink or
Well,
Christina Aguilera?
because they're, I don't know about Christina Aguilera. Pink is not on her. I love Pink, but Pink is not really on Beyonce's level. I mean, she's great, but like I'm talking about like Adele, like somebody who's really,
But she
not
did
that
she
she's
do
done.
anything with
No,
Adele?
she hasn't done anything with Adele.
But
But I'm
Adele
saying
sure
like
did thank her though when she won
that's what
her.
I'm saying. Like that
Mm.
caliber of people. You've got Britney Spears, you've got Adele, you've got Lizzo, you've got um, what's the girl's name? The
I
one that
just
you
seen
don't
a
care.
clip. I guess it was at the what Country Music Awards, and the one girl was like, you know, I'm like country music. I'm a country music star, and I can say that it wasn't until Beyonce did country
Who is
that
this?
oh Beth, and she's like, I'm gonna go back to Nashville now. She had just won the award, and she made that speech, and it was kind of like it was weird because it was like,
What's the Megan the Stallion? I mean, all these people have all, and I'm not saying that Beyonce maybe hasn't played some role in their, like, wasn't an inspiration to them, but like, I don't know. It is strange. It is a little bit interesting. And then there was even some that threw in there that like maybe Kanye was saving Taylor Swift when Taylor didn't get up there. Remember that time that Kanye
oh
went up and
yeah,
he thanked Beyonce because maybe Taylor wasn't going to or wouldn't do it because she's not part of that crowd, that clique, that whatever.
mm.
And so he got up there and he doesn't realize that he was saving Taylor Swift by
Wow,
interrupting her and thanking Beyonce because
interesting.
there's all these theories. And then this is another one that just popped up, and then we got to go, Dawn, because we are well over an
Ugh,
hour.
always, but it's just we got so much
Well
stuff to
over an
cover. But
hour,
go
and we don't
ahead.
want to take these people's time up. Our
Okay.
friends, not these people, our friends' time up. Um, Wendy Williams. Wendy Williams has been trying to speak about Beyonce and Jay-Z, and I mean from the jump.
Right.
Not fans of them at all.
Right.
Talked about them on her show continuously. Talked about Beyonce pretty much like a dog without dogging her out. I mean, literally saying stuff like she can't talk. She's got like a fifth grade education. I mean, like just like stuff that you're like, oh, like you don't say that about Beyonce. You know, that kind of
Right.
stuff. Talking about that she wasn't good, she wasn't nice, she wasn't all this stuff. Look at Wendy now. What happened
Mm.
to Wendy Williams? I know that like in recent years, Wendy Williams had gotten a little bit, and it was like she had I don't know if she had an alcohol problem or some kind of a substance abuse problem, and she had went downhill. But if you go back and you look at early on Wendy Williams, she was very well spoken,
Oh yeah, most
very
definitely.
astute, I mean, like very held herself and carried herself very well, knew what she was talking about. But from the jump, she's always said something about Beyonce and Jay-Z. And now what has she been like?
Oof. Wendy
Everybody
didn't
just
had it rough.
and everybody talks about how crazy she is. And so the
Right.
next theory is that how come everybody who tries to speak out against Jay-Z and Beyonce end up being quote unquote crazy? You got Kanye, you know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
you know,
Well,
when
listen, real quick. I know you said we got friends. Hold on. Just think about this though, real quick. So remember we've talked about Jaguar, right?
yeah,
And how Jaguar speaks out on all the stuff, the Diddy stuff,
yeah,
talks about.
yeah,
So then she was on that Pierce Morgan show,
yeah, yes,
and so it was said how now she was talking about Jay-Z and Beyonce on his show, and his show is like supposed to be all uncapped or unfiltered and all this other
right,
stuff. And while he did say, well, they're not here to defend themselves, someone made there was a coverage over that segment, and they were saying how, well, it might appear that Jay-Z and Beyonce are quiet or not responding, they said, but they're doing so secretively through their lawyers and stuff, because that's what made Pierce Morgan issue an apology on his show, was like it was like turned into legal matters. But I find it funny that he had to do it, and yet still there was nothing with Jaguar Wright. Like he had to issue an apology, but Jaguar Wright is still running the streets and making it. I'm just saying,
I think
friends,
she's a
something gonna
loose
happen to that
cannon.
lady.
She's a loose cannon, and so I think that they cannot like you can't she
Move
can't
too quick without
there's
making
nothing she can do now to regurgitate and take anything that she has said back.
right.
They've seen that she's a wild card, and they cannot control her and what she does. And at this point, I don't even know. I'm sure there is a lot that Jaguar Wright said that's true, but to some extent I think she's a little bit not crazy, but she's a little bit at this point now. I think that she realizes that she finally has the ear of like a lot of mainstream people now,
Yeah.
and she's just saying a lot, and I have to still take some of what she says with a grain of salt. I believe a lot of it is true, but now a lot of it is so like spectacular. Some of it is so much of, you know what I mean? It's just like now she says she has something to say about everybody. I
I
don't know if everything that she says.
I hear she said something about Tevin Campbell, and he definitely threw the
Oh,
defamation suit against her.
well, I mean, but you see what Tevin Campbell has like. I mean, you kind of see a little bit of it. I mean, you know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
it's like she says enough that it could be true, but you're just not sure. I don't know, but um, and she's not afraid of disappearing, not afraid of dying, not afraid of anything. So she can just like
Whew.
she don't, she doesn't care. And I think that they've already realized that they cannot
Hey,
control
hey,
that. There ain't nothing they can do about that.
hey, Jaguar, right? A honey badger.
Right,
Uh,
for sure. Right, 100%. She's the honey badger
she's a honey badger.
right
If you don't know, friends,
now. You know,
now you
you
know.
don't know, right? But and but Beyonce and Jay-Z's whole rep is that they have transformed themselves to be very classy. They're supposed to be very classy, very high tier, very elite, which is not like Diddy. Diddy was all about wilding and partying, and that was Diddy's MO.
Right.
Theirs is very like astute. Jay-Z teaches a master class
Listen,
on,
listen. There's Beyonce, very demure,
right,
very
100%. That is the route that they took.
right,
So they've got to come. So they're not just going to respond in any kind of way. They're not going to respond to people they think are, like, for lack of a better term, beneath them. They're not going to even respond to Jaguar White, right? But Pierce Morgan is someone. He is supposedly reputable. You know what I mean? So
right,
they're going to go to him, and they're going to go in that angle because that is the elite and the professional thing to do. They're not going to respond to Wendy Williams. They're not going to respond to the loud mouths. They're going to keep it high. You know what I mean?
right.
Because I feel like they're elevated. That's the route that they're taking. So to me, that's why, yeah, it's a
Mm,
different. I don't know. I
mm.
don't know. Oh no.
Because I don't know.
Oh no.
There's so much more to be said, but
So
like
much
you
more,
said,
but
we gotta.
it's an hour and a half.
I think this is the second time around, right?
Yes,
That's
we're
all
gonna
right
we're gonna
though.
try and do better, friends, because we know that y'all don't have all day to listen to us. But you know what you can do? If it's too long, then you can like listen to us halfway and then be like, okay, that's too much, and then pick us back up the next day and finish the conversation. Um,
Right.
hopefully we didn't go on and on too much about too many different things.
And if we did,
Hopefully
that's
you
okay,
were
because that's
right.
why y'all here and y'all here
Yeah,
to
hopefully you're
laugh and
right there with us. Like you're
right,
right in there with us.
right.
Right?
And
We
and
hear
pray for
you. We hear
listen
you. We hear you responding.
and listen and
Right?
pray for me, y'all, because I'm only 5 years in. I'm just trying to get on auto pay.
Right.
That's
For
all
real.
I'm
For
trying to do
real.
and survive. Well,
All
this was
right. I
another
mean, we
good
didn't
one,
said a
buddy.
lot. We didn't said a lot. We didn't
We,
said, but we didn't say. Right?
and there's still so much more. Listen, next time, you know what we got to start with.
The cruise.
Oh no, I wasn't thinking that, but
Oh.
we definitely the time is winding down. But Nutter Butter, we'll leave
Oh,
it there.
friends.
Woo!
Yes. Let's just say Nutter Butter TikTok. That's all we want
Yes,
to say in preparation for
the
our
next
next
one.
conversation.
Woo, Lord. All
I,
right. Hey,
I can't.
thank.
I can't go to bed on that note, Dawn. How
I
are you
know
gonna leave that in my head as we sign
because
off? It's
yes.
too much.
Oh, buddy, but it's going to be so good. Friends, thank y'all if y'all made it this far. Even if you had to do it in sections, that's okay. You did it and you had a good time and you laughed and you related. That's what we're here for.
We
So
appreciate you. We tell your friends about us if you don't mind. You like, subscribe, follow, all the things.
share. Sharing is
Share.
caring. We got to go. All
We
right. So
gotta
I
go.
ain't saying
But I'm saying.
we out. Catch y'all
Bye,
later.
guys.